The cameras were rolling, the lights were bright, and Meghan Markle had that same perfectly practiced smile she's worn 1,000 times before. But Harry, he looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. This was supposed to be just another elegant night at an awards show in New York, their grand red carpet moment. But one heckle changed everything. A voice from the crowd sliced through the noise, "Stop using your children."
So Meghan Markle, she is back to using her kids and whoring them out on social media for clout, attention, clicks. This is what she does.
Harry froze, his jaw clenched, and for the briefest moment, that polished royal mask cracked wide open. Meghan kept smiling, the way she always does when everything's falling apart in real time. But the tension between them was visible, sharp enough to cut through the noise of cameras clicking. Whispers say this moment wasn't just embarrassing, it was explosive. Because behind that flash of tension on the carpet was something far deeper, months of quiet cracks carefully hidden from the public eye. This wasn't just a bad night, this was a fracture in their story. From Meghan's carefully staged Paris moment to Harry's visible frustration to a crowd that no longer seems spellbound, there's so much to unpack here. That uncomfortable moment on the red carpet didn't just come out of nowhere. It was the result of cracks that had been forming long before the New York spotlight. Insiders say the signs were there months earlier at public events, charity appearances, and subtle, easy-to-miss exchanges. One of the earliest public clues came during the Kevin Costner event. Cameras caught what many viewers described as an icy gap between Meghan and Harry. She was radiant and camera-ready, leaning into the crowd, holding that star power posture she's mastered. But Harry, he barely looked at her. His movements were sharp, detached, like someone going through the motions rather than living the moment. Observers pointed out the way she reached for his hand and how he hesitated, just a second too long before taking it. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, but to people who followed this couple closely, that tiny pause said everything. Whispers from those close to their circle claim Harry has grown increasingly frustrated with what he allegedly sees as Meghan's obsession with image, the need to control the camera, the crowd, the entire narrative. And that frustration isn't new. It's been building slowly, simmering behind their red carpet smiles. What we all saw in New York was just the moment it finally boiled over. This wasn't the start of a storm, it was the first thunderclap of something much bigger. On the night of the awards, the world saw what felt less like a couple and more like a performance. Meghan stepped onto that carpet like it was her stage. Chin up, hand extended, smile locked in place. Every movement was rehearsed, precise, deliberate. But Harry wasn't playing along. He walked slightly behind her, shoulders tense, face stiff. Observers noted how she kept trying to draw him in, turning toward him, reaching out, leaning closer, but he gave her almost nothing back. The once synchronized duo now looked out of rhythm, like two people standing in the same spotlight but living in completely different worlds. Whispers claim Meghan sensed it too. That's why her smile seemed a little tighter than usual, why her steps seemed just a bit too polished. It wasn't confidence, it was control. And then came that heckle. A single sentence from the crowd that turned their silent tension into something everyone could feel. Meghan pretended not to hear it. Harry couldn't hide his reaction. For a couple that built their brand on projecting unity, this was a red carpet moment they couldn't spin away. Long before New York, Paris was where the mask started slipping. Meghan had hoped for a headline-stealing return at Paris Fashion Week. She walked in expecting front-row reverence and A-list treatment, but insiders say the reception was cold. The whispers were brutal behind the scenes. Her dress wasn't gifted like those of the true headliners, it was borrowed. In fashion circles, that's a quiet but unmistakable message. You're not one of us. Then came the most controversial moment, the drive through the Pont de l'Alma tunnel, the same route tied to Princess Diana's tragic final night. Observers believe Meghan expected global attention, but instead, the move was seen as calculated, too obvious, too forced, and according to sources, Harry didn't like it one bit. That moment in Paris planted a seed of tension between them, tension that followed them to every camera flash afterward. After Paris, insiders say things turned explosive behind the scenes. Harry, who has always been fiercely protective of his mother's memory, was reportedly furious about that tunnel stunt. To him, it wasn't just another photo op, it crossed a line. Meghan, on the other hand, brushed it off as a moment, nothing more. But whispers claim the argument that followed was one of their loudest yet. Harry went quiet for days after, not because the issue was resolved, but because for the first time, he may have realized just how differently they saw the world. And that silence lingered all the way to New York. By the time they stepped onto that New York red carpet, something between them had already shifted. Harry wasn't just distant, he looked hollow. The kind of quiet that doesn't come from one bad night, but from something that's been festering. Meghan, on the other hand, doubled down on performance mode. The tighter the silence, the brighter her smile. Observers say the contrast was striking. Meghan leaned in, Harry leaned away. She performed, he endured. Whispers claim their team noticed it too, scrambling to keep things smooth in front of cameras. But nothing could mask the tension this time. It was right there in every step and every strained glance. Insiders say one thing is keeping Meghan in the spotlight no matter how shaky things get, the Duchess of Sussex title. For Meghan, the title isn't just symbolic, it's currency. It opens doors, guarantees attention, and keeps her name in the headlines. Without it, she's not royal Meghan Markle, just another celebrity in Hollywood's crowded pool. Whispers from palace watchers claim King Charles has quietly debated what to do about those titles. And Meghan knows it. That's why every appearance, every perfectly curated photo, every smile matters. She's fighting not just for image, but for status, and losing that would be a blow she can't afford. While Meghan clings to the power of her title, Harry's motives are different and far more personal. For Harry, walking away isn't just about leaving Meghan. It's about admitting something much heavier, that he gave up a kingdom for a dream that may not have turned out the way he imagined. Insiders say pride is what's keeping him in place. Behind the calm exterior, Harry is a man caught between two worlds, the life he walked away from and the one that doesn't quite fit. Observers have noticed it in his posture at events, stiff, disengaged, like someone who can't go forward but refuses to look back. Whispers claim those close to him have tried to get through, but he isn't listening. To him, leaving now would feel like defeat. And if there's one thing Harry can't stomach, it's being seen as the man who lost everything. The crown, the country, and now maybe even control of his own story. Once upon a time, every Meghan and Harry appearance sent tabloids into a frenzy. Now, the public mood is colder, sharper. That heckle in New York wasn't an isolated jab. It was a reflection of a shift that's been building for months. People aren't just skeptical anymore. Many have stopped buying the fairy tale altogether. Observers say the crowd's reaction, the silence, the muttering, the lack of that old starstruck awe was louder than any headline. Whispers claim even their team noticed it, the magic that once surrounded them isn't hitting the same. For a couple who built their post-royal life on commanding attention, indifference is the one thing they never planned for. And now, it's creeping in fast. In the end, it wasn't a press conference or a scandal that exposed the cracks. It was a red carpet, one heckle, one look, one moment that couldn't be staged away. Meghan smiled, Harry stiffened, and in between those two reactions, the entire world saw the fracture. Insiders say this isn't a dramatic royal implosion, it's quieter than that. A slow unraveling, a couple who once stood at the center of the world, now struggling to hold their story together. If Meghan loses the titles, she reinvents. If Harry walks away, he faces everything he tried to escape. And if neither moves, the quiet tension keeps growing until something finally gives. This isn't the fairy tale they promised. It's the uncomfortable pause before the goodbye. This is Hollywood Daily Reports. Subscribe now, because this story is far from over.